Mr. Beat presents
Supreme Court Briefs.
Olympia, Washington, August 5th, 1999. Sylvia Crawford tells her husband, Michael Crawford, that a man named Kenneth Lee had attempted to rape her. Michael Crawford, who had been heavily drinking some alcohol, does not go to the police to report this. Instead, the very angry and very drunk Crawford goes to Kenneth Lee's apartment. Crawford and Lee get into a fight, and the next thing you know, Crawford is stabbing Lee in the stomach. During the stabbing, Crawford's hand also got cut. After the police did get involved, they arrested both Michael and Sylvia Crawford and interrogated them separately. Michael and Sylvia gave similar accounts of what happened, but there was one important difference. Michael claimed he had stabbed Kenneth out of self-defense, but Sylvia said Kenneth did not have a weapon. This would cause the police to question Michael's story. How could it be self-defense if Kenneth didn't even have a weapon? The state of Washington charged Michael Crawford with assault and attempted murder. State law said people married didn't have to testify against each other in court, so at Michael's trial, Sylvia didn't take the stand. However, the police had recorded her interrogation, and the judge allowed the deputy prosecutor, Robert Lund, to use that tape as evidence that Michael was attempting murder, not acting in self-defense. Crawford's lawyers were like, hold up, man, you can't use that tape. They said Mrs. Crawford's recorded statements couldn't be used as evidence unless they were able to cross-examine her, which, as I previously said, under state law, they couldn't. The defense argued this went against the Confrontation Clause of the Sixth Amendment. Crawford had a right to confront his accuser in court, and you can't cross-examine a recording of a voice. Believe me, I have tried. I yell at my own voice recordings all the time. But nevertheless, the recording was still used as evidence, and influential evidence at that. The state convicted Crawford of attempted murder and assault and sentenced him to about 15 years in prison. However, the Washington Court of Appeals overturned the decision, arguing that due to the precedent set by the Supreme Court case Ohio v. Roberts, Sylvia Crawford's recorded testimony was not reliable enough. Ohio v. Roberts also dealt with the Confrontation Clause of the Sixth Amendment and set up this reliability standard. However, the Washington Supreme Court overturned the Washington Court of Appeals decision and said that Sylvia's recorded testimony was reliable because it complemented Michael's testimony well, so they reinstated his conviction. Goodness, all these different interpretations of the same evidence. That never happens. The Supreme Court was like, we won in on this action, and requested to review the case on June 9th, 2003. On November 10th, that same year, they heard oral arguments. The big question for this case was, does using testimony from out of the court with no chance of cross-examination go against the Confrontation Clause of the Sixth Amendment? The court said yes. Why, yes it does. On March 8th, 2004, they ruled in favor of Crawford, 9-0. Yep, it was unanimous. The court argued that Sylvia Crawford's recorded statement from the police interrogation violated Michael Crawford's Sixth Amendment right to confront her about it in court. Justice Antonin Scalia gave the opinion. He argued that any out-of-court statement that is, quote, testimonial should not be allowed as evidence unless this statement came from a person who had no way of testifying in court and this person could be cross-examined by the defendant ahead of time. Crawford v. Washington overturned Ohio v. Roberts. It made it much more difficult to allow, quote, hearsay evidence to be used in court. In other words, if a statement was made by someone involved in a criminal case out of court, it likely wasn't going to be used as evidence anymore. The Sixth Amendment, baby! I'll see you for the next Supreme Court case, jury. A big thank you to my newest Patreon supporters, Amelia, Alex, and Jessica. You made this a fantastic week for me, so thank you so much for your support. And a lot of you already know this, but YouTube videos tend to do well when they get a lot of interactions in the first 48 hours after being posted, so a lot of likes and comments. So if this video gets at least 120 likes in the first 48 hours, I will do push-ups and recite all of the presidents of the United States of America in order at the same time. I don't know how that's going to look yet, but I'm sure it will be interesting.